just barely. All you devoted and all you disillusioned, if you're wrapped up in romance or caught in confusion. Whoever you are, wherever you've been, your heart might be fractured, but it hasn't met its end. Feel it throbbing for a hope, a home, a change. Time to throw down the pretense and all that's faint. You gotta let love interfere, soothe and heal. Hold your hopes and calm your fears. Let love interfere. Well, it's the wisdom of the sage and the way of the seer. Love is the weaver and the wheel. Love is the longing, love the contentment, the thirst and the drink that quenches it. You gotta let love interfere, soothe and heal. Hold your hopes and calm your fears. Let love interfere. My resistance, the channels of my heart are clear. I gotta let go, release my resistance, the channels of my heart are clear. Always got something to prove and somewhere to be. There's no ladder climbing, no lofty tiers. The place where earth and heaven meets. All your restraints burst at the seams when you let love interfere. Come closer, come near, as the rains raise the streams to wash away the weirs. Let love take it from here. Ooh, 'cause love is love is love is love is love, so let it be. Hey, love is love is love is love is love, so let it be. Love is love is love, so let it be. Hey, love is love is love is love is love, so let it be. Yes, love is love, so let it be. Thank you for being here tonight, friends. I am your host, Heather Lynn, and this is Storydwelling, our music and conversation episode of the Live Online with Heather Lynn series. I do believe that love is truly the most powerful force in the universe, and tonight we want to create space to let love interfere in our lives a little bit more in all of its beautiful, exquisite iterations through all of the incredible manifestations of humanity that we have. And our guest tonight is going to lead us on that journey a little bit more, I believe, because they are an incredible, stellar human being, full of the good stuff and full of love. So we will get to Spencer very soon. First, I would like to take a moment to welcome you and to invite you into the practice of story dwelling. because story dwelling is not only the name of this show, it is a practice that I'm inviting you into to try out with me if you're willing. And if not, if you just kind of want to hang and listen and see what this is all about, that is cool too. But to me, I want you to know that the definition of story dwelling is a verb. It is an active thing. It is cultivating courageous, compassionate curiosity for ourselves and one another, recognizing the shaping nature of narrative. And it is assuming an inner posture of deeply listening, taking on a practice of listening. And so for a while, we are going to dwell in the story of our guest, in the story of Spencer LaJoye, and the stories that have made up their lives. And so I want to invite you also to take a moment to notice your body. We at Heatherland Music have a thing called somatic story dwelling. And somatic is anything that's related to your body, because I believe that we are truly made up of stories. We live in overarching meta narratives. We have stories in our family lineage that have been intertwined in the strands of our DNA, I believe. And so when our stories and all that kind of reverberates within us interfaces with someone else's story, sometimes we can experience resonance with their story, or we can experience resistance. And sometimes our bodies know that before we know that in our minds. So I like to take a moment to just get in touch with our bodies, to take a deep breath, to notice if there is any tension anywhere in your body, because who knows what your day was like? I don't know. We've had interesting days. This has been a weird year. So notice where you might be carrying any tension in your face and in your body. And then, as an act of compassion and presence, breathe into that tension. And I invite you, if you're willing to try it, maybe even open your hands, or maybe place them on your heart as a sign and a symbol that you are embodying a willingness to open your heart and your mind to the goodness that you might receive in this experience together tonight, and even openness to being challenged if that arises. So thank you so much for being willing to try this, to enter this practice with me of cultivating courageous, compassionate curiosity. One other thing that we like to do is, of course, I want to let you know where I am live streaming to you from, and I would love to hear where you are coming from. And in that, even though we are having all of these virtual experiences, especially this year, that has been amped up significantly, I know that it's easy for me to forget that I am connected to land. I'm connected to the earth. I was actually talking with Spencer a little bit earlier about snacks that we're enjoying, grapes and dried apricots. And I was talking about how incredible it is to me that a juicy, luscious dried apricot comes from the earth, you know? And we do come from the land, and we will return to the land. And so I want to acknowledge that we also live on stolen land. And so I am live streaming to you from near Denver, Colorado, and this land previously belonged to the Cheyenne, the Arapaho, and the Ute Native tribes. We invite you to use native-land.ca as a resource if you would like to learn about the tribes connected to the land that you inhabit, and that it belonged to before it was forcefully taken from them with genocide. We honor them and their presence today. They have not gone away from us. Indigenous peoples live here still with us, and we have a lot to learn from them. And we honor them, their heritage, their culture, and all of the sacrifices that they have been forced to make. We also acknowledge that colonialism is one of the overarching narratives that continues to cause harm today. And so that is one of the reasons that we do a land acknowledgement every time we come together. So thank you, friends. Let's breathe again. We're talking about some serious things, but we're also talking about some really fun things. I'm really excited to celebrate Spencer LaJoye tonight. Are you? I hope that you will welcome Spencer in the comments. Just briefly, there's a lot to say about Spencer, but briefly, we'll say they are a folk pop singer-songwriter, violinist, and vocal loop artist based in Denver, Colorado, and they believe everyone is made of the good stuff. They make music to remember what it means to be human, to find connection in a time of disconnection, and to feel something in a world gone numb. We'll get to know Spencer more and more tonight, but now please in the comments welcome Spencer. We'll bring Spencer up on the screen. Yay! Da, 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 da. Yay! Julie is here and says we love Spencer. Courtney's here. Good to see you. I saw Gordon on here too, and Pamela is here. Pamela did a show with me last week, which is awesome. John is here. The Blancos are here. So hello, everyone. Please do continue to say hello in the comments. That is how we know you're here, when you say hello to us. So please do show your love and generous hospitality to Spencer. Thank you for joining me. Thanks for being on the show tonight, Spence.
Of course. I would never say no to such an opportunity.
I love it.
This is amazing. I love what you do here.
Thank you so much. And it's been such a delight to have you on this space a few times in this past year. Like, thanks for rolling with me in this whole virtual thing that we've needed to do. Christy's here saying hello, so that's awesome. You did a virtual show for my 40th birthday festival back in September. Was it before that we did a singer-songwriter back and forth show like Pamela and I did last week?
I think it was before that.
I think so. So
yeah, I've connected with you more over this pandemic than I think any other single songwriter. So it's amazing.
Lucky me.
Right.
And this is the first time you are on my show and this platform with your name, Spencer. So I'm delighted to welcome you as Spencer LaJoye tonight.
Thank you.
It's pretty awesome.
Thank you. It's pretty awesome. I think this is maybe I was trying to remember if this might be my second show that I'm performing as Spencer. I was Jenny LaJoye before. Not all people like to reveal their name before they changed it, but it doesn't bother me at all.
Cool.
And yeah, but it's wonderful to be Spencer and to be I don't know, just more of myself in the public space. You know?
Yeah. I was going to say, how does that feel for you? How does it feel to be Spencer and to name that, to say, this is my name and this is who I am?
Yeah, it's the experience of telling the world that this is my name and this is what I will go by now. That was amazing.
I'm so glad.
That experience was so heartwarming and community-oriented and fulfilling. And I have been around the coming out block a few times. And I've learned how to do it better. And I have also, I think, grown into myself in ways that allow me to both center myself and let the centering of myself and my story be an invitation to other people to bring themselves into my, relational fold. So the way that I told people that my name was Spencer is I said, this is my name and I like it because of these reasons. In the comments, please tell me what your name is and why, something you like about it.
Yeah.
And everybody did, and it was incredible. It was overwhelmingly beautiful.
I got to be a part of that, and it did feel it felt like a little festival of names and naming.
It did.
It was really cool. Yeah.
I know. I did not know that was going to happen, but it was beautiful.
Yeah.
So.
For those who didn't catch that, would you like to share with us now what you like about your name?
Oh, sure. I mean, I wrote it out so eloquently, so I don't know, I spent time crafting it, so
yeah.
I don't know if I'll be able to be as eloquent now, but
it's all good. You're doing great.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I like the name Spencer because first of all, it sounds really good with my middle name, which is Lynn. Spencer Lynn sounds really sonically nice to me. Just like Heather Lynn sounds really sonically nice.
Thank you.
So I like that, and I like that my middle name is shared with my mom, and I like that I didn't change that. I like that the name Spencer was chosen not only by me, but like by a group of really close and carefully curated loved ones.
I didn't know that
called
part.
me by that name.
Yeah.
They called me by that name for like months, just those people, and we kept it really close and comfy. And I like that, so I always will think of those people now. Whenever I think of this whole process of name changing. So.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, let's back up. Let's go back to the beginning.
The beginning.
Of you. Which I think began geographically in Missouri. Is that right?
Michigan. So here.
See, I was visualizing the M-I, and I it was the wrong state.
There's too many. But it was right here.
Right there.
The state lines are, they're arbitrary. And
I love it. I love that you have it like.
Yeah. So it's Hastings, Michigan.
Okay.
It's about a 40-minute drive south of Grand Rapids, which is maybe a more prominent city that people know. It's a small town of 7,000 people. There's one Catholic church in that town, which I attended, and I attended the elementary school that was attached to it. It's a little L. There's the church and the school.
Yeah.
And I was in that Catholic elementary school from kindergarten through 6th grade.
And what was that like for you? What was being in a Catholic elementary school like?
To be honest with you,
please do.
It was
be
kind
honest.
of. What have we been doing up to this point? It was actually like kind of ideal. Because it was small, and this is not, I know, the typical story, but it was small. All of my friends' families were friends with each other. I felt like I knew everybody. I went to school with the same people I went to church with. And it just felt really close and familiar, which obviously created problems later when I entered the public school system, because everything was different then.
Totally different culture and
totally different. Like middle school bullies. Middle school bullies are the worst kind of bullies, I think. Which is because you can't, as a middle schooler, you don't know how to stick up for yourself yet necessarily, right?
Yeah.
And high schoolers too, I'd say.
Yeah.
But
or like even where to begin with that, right? Like, why is this person being mean to me? Or like what? Like
doesn't make sense.
Boundaries, emotional intelligence is just so big in middle school, right?
I know.
Yeah.
It is. And my mom's piece of advice to me when I went from my Catholic elementary school to the public middle school. And my mom's not Catholic. That should be said. My mom's Presbyterian, so we say that we're Presbatholic.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I was every other week, the whole family would go to the Presbyterian church, and then the whole family would go to the Catholic church, and that, I mean, that's a beautiful lesson to learn. I think, is that you can belong in one place and you can still be welcomed in other spaces too. Anyway, my mom, when I entered the public middle school, her piece of advice to me, and she meant so well, and I think this piece of advice is good in a lot of instances, but it was, just be nice. Just be nice. You'll be okay. Just be nice.
Oh, wow.
And I think that piece of advice made me a lot of friends. It helped me to survive. It helped me to not, pick an eye for an eye. But it also is something I'm actively still trying to say thank you to and set aside.
Yeah.
Right? To say
definitely.
that piece of advice served me. The being nice thing is good.
Yeah.
And I need to advocate for myself right now, which might not be so nice. It might offend some people.
Yeah, it might not, it won't come across as nice, but it's the right thing. It's even the kind thing, I would say.
It's even the kind thing. It's the compassionate thing.
Yeah.
But not necessarily the seemingly nice thing. So
yeah. Yeah,
but
shaking up the status quo is not polite.
Exactly. Exactly. You know, and I think that's a lot of the Christian Protestant world is love passed off for it's like niceness, it's niceties, and we don't often talk about what it means to repent, and I mean that in a not Catholic sense.
Sure, yeah.
I think when I come from the Catholic Church, there's a lot of like repenting for individual sins and things that make me myself impure. But when I talk about repentance now, I think I mean, you know, repenting of denying somebody else their right to a full humanity, to a life-giving life, you know.
Yeah. Authenticity and integrity, right?
Yeah.
And
being nice is not necessarily being authentic.
That's right. Yeah. So. Yeah. I tend to think of niceness as being kind of this saccharine sweetness, which has a bitter aftertaste. And genuine kindness comes from a place of integrity and inner and outer alignment and authenticity and truthfulness. And sure. The truth can make people uncomfortable sometimes. Yeah. So grew up in a very religious environment. Would you say, like a lot of people talk about how they're spiritual but not religious, would you say that there was quite a bit of spirituality in the mix too growing up? How did that kind of inform your psycho-spiritual little life? It was a little LaJoye.
Yeah. I mean, I think that in my childhood, I think I was more religious than spiritual. The Catholic school thing made me a nerd about ritual.
Oh, cool.
And liturgy and the things, like the very specific things that we do together in a service, in a worship place, or just out in the public sphere. Those things are rituals and liturgies too. I still have a binder in my childhood home of like the parts of the Catholic Mass and what they mean and why they're, and it's I hope my parents never get rid of that, because I love it. Made me such a nerd. So I think that I was more religious than spiritual before, and when I got into my pre-adolescent and adolescent stage of life, I, we're grasping at meaning, and I think we are grasping for more spirituality, something really, something deeper than ritual, right? Like we're looking for the meaning behind it, and I think in those days, I like to say that I made my family more spiritual.
Wow.
That my family didn't make me the really hardcore evangelical Christian, that I turned my family evangelical.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Just because I was on fire. That's the lingo, right? And speaking of repentance, I have a lot to repent of in those years, and I've reached out to friends that I genuinely hurt because I thought I was loving them well in the name of Jesus.
Yeah. I understand that feeling.
Yeah. I think it's been easier for me to say I'm sorry to other people that I've hurt than it is for me to say I'm sorry to myself for hurting myself in those years. I taught myself to believe a lot of things that aren't true about myself. Forget like truth about doctrine, truth about theology, all of those things. Forget that. But it's the theological anthropology, right? Who I am in relation to the divine, who the divine is in me. I believed and I taught myself and I embodied and I ingested these really harmful messages about myself. And it's been harder to apologize to myself for those things.
Yeah.
All in the course of a few years of adolescence.
Yeah. Well, in my perspective, the institutional religion is often really enmeshed with the white cis heteropatriarchy. And I don't know if everybody knows what those terms mean, but it's usually pretty in bed with whiteness, those constructs of whiteness. I'm not talking about an ethnicity. I'm talking about a racialized structure in our society. And cis hetero, so heteronormativity as a standard for everybody. Usually religious institutions put that forward, and usually patriarchal hierarchies, right? And so I can imagine that growing up, well, first of all, is my assumption about that, was that true in your experience of institutionalized religion?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I didn't want to proceed with just like
yes.
Yeah. And so how do you think that just the storylines that you ingested about yourself, and how did you begin to see that there was that maybe wasn't working for you?
Yeah, well, that's the problem, right? Is that we don't see them until they're really not working for us.
Yeah,
and
like a
that's
festering sore or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we can be told about them, and we can be told about them, but we won't necessarily notice until it was really hurting. Yeah, I mean, I think it came to a head for me in college. And I mean, just so your audience and you, so you all know, sure. I did not. So I identify as non-binary, so gender non-binary, which I will explain. I don't know who all is here, but
yeah, feel free to.
So if there's I like to explain gender like a color wheel, not as a spectrum. So I know that
nice.
Instead of it being like man on one end and woman on another, and then non-binary is somewhere in between, sure. I like to think of it instead as a color wheel. So cool. If men are blue and women are pink, right? There's not just purple. There's greens and yellows and oranges. Yeah. And there's all of these things.
That's brilliant, Spencer.
And also, women don't just have to be pink. Women can also be green. A non-binary person and a woman can be green, and a man. We can all be green. It's a whole.
Oh, goody! I'm so excited about that.
Pick your color. Yeah. So I'm green. Okay, that's cool. What it means when I say I'm non-binary, and I'm also bisexual, and but I broadly identify as queer. And I did not know I identified as any of these things. I did not know I was queer in any way until I was like 21. I know that the narrative is like the popular narrative, the easy narrative is there's this kid who knows and is in agony their whole life because no one will understand and they feel like they can't be who they want to be and they can't. I thought I was me. I thought I was doing it. I was a happy kid.
Cool.
And
I'm glad for you.
I know.
That's
wonderful.
Yes.
I was a happy kid, and I still am a happy kid. There were just some years in there where it came to a head, where the white cis het patriarchy, and in all of the constructs, all of the control that system needs to have over us. When finally, when I was about 20 years old, I was like, ooh. This doesn't fit anymore. This box has started to feel very, very, very small. And it's not for me.
Yeah.
And the big hint is that it's not for anybody. That's the secret. It's not for anybody. Not even if you are a white cis het man. It's not for you. That system isn't built for you.
I love
It's not
that.
built for human beings. So I came to a head in college, and I became a religion major. Studied a lot of theology, learned how to adapt the language of popular theologies into things that were more life-giving for me and for others around me.
Nice.
And I had a great coming out experience then, and another coming out experience down the line, and another coming out experience after that. And but it took a pretty painful not fitting into a box, which shows itself as shame.
Yeah.
Right. It isn't anger at first. It isn't clarity. It isn't like, oh, I've seen the light. Yeah. It's just it's a lot of shame, and eventually you have to ask: is this shame correct?
Right.
Do I believe this shame, or do I believe that the thing that's giving me this shame is not right?
That's right. And I appreciate you naming that, because I believe that there is an epidemic of shame in our culture, and I believe that a lot of it comes from it's systemic in these system structures, categories, containment of whiteness, of cis heteronormativity, and of patriarchy. So I really appreciate you naming that, because I think, and that's something that, we mentioned somatic story dwelling earlier. Like if you start to experience that in your body and understand what your body is speaking to you, then you can start to get curious. And it does take courage and compassion to even realize what storylines are doing to you, and if they really are reflective of who you are, and if it's yours, or if you need to write another one. So I'm grateful to you for paying attention, Spence, and for being real about it, and being willing to write another narrative, and the one that really belongs to you, and that you belong to, and then inviting us to belong within it together. I really appreciate that.
Thanks.
I wonder about a song. Would you like to share a song with us?
I really would.
Okay. We're so grateful to you all who are here. Thanks for the finger snaps, Caitlin and Pamela. Pamela says, you two are both so wise and articulate. That's really sweet of you to say, Pamela. Thank you.
That was sweet.
And Julie says, speak on it, Sib. Clap, clap, clap. Kitty has a question. I think I'll pose the question, and feel free to answer it now or after your song, whichever you prefer. But she was curious if there's any grieving with giving up the name Jenny. And and then
yes, I'll say I will. I'll play the song first, and then I will talk about that. I think
sounds
that's
good.
a very good question.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. This is a song called Control, and it is about exactly the systems that we were talking about. The white cishet patriarchy. I was working for a church in a location that I will not disclose, and I will not tell you the name of the church either.
Sure.
Because I loved them still, but the person I was working for asked me in a sort of manipulative way if I was sure that I wanted to move to Colorado to be with my girlfriend, if I was sure that that was God's plan for me. It is exactly that kind of questioning. When you know something is true for you, you get to say that it's true, and no one gets to speak on behalf of God in questioning you. It would have been one thing if he himself would have said, I wonder if it's the right move for you. But he invoked the name of God, right?
Yeah.
Which is exactly the way that these systems kind of get you, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's a lot of weirdness. Thanks for naming it.
a lot of weirdness. Yes. Okay. So here we go. It's called Control, and it's angry.
Awesome.
I'm out of the gate. I'm out of my mind. I'm out of the thing I need to keep you satisfied. Don't ask me again to put you at ease. I am the one who can't avoid the flame till it threatens to retreat. I'm not the one. If I even had to say it all, trust me, babe. I said I'm not the one, but I don't have to say it all. I'm out of my control. I'm out of my control. I saw the fire and the fire wouldn't haunt me, but I can't fight the waves. I'm out of my own control. I locked every door and melted the key, applauding the heat for putting on a show with me. Don't ask me again why I'm out in the rain when nothing is adding up. I know you know that there's only one to blame. I'm not the one. If I even had to say it all, trust me, babe. I said I'm not the one, but I don't have to say it all. I'm out of my control. I'm out of my control. I saw the fire and the fire wouldn't haunt me, but I can't fight the waves. I'm out of my own control. Go ahead, be the one to call the shots now. Go ahead, be the one to take a stand for the plan that you knew all the way. Play the faithful hand. Oh, go ahead, tell me I'm not gonna last now. Go ahead, ask me, are you ready yet? I was set with a net of your ropes, but it broke, so I'm left with more than you ever did to hope I'm out of control. Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead now. 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 Go ahead, be the one to call the shots now. Go ahead, be the one to take a stand for the plan that you knew all the way. Go ahead, play the faithful hand. Whoa. Go ahead, tell me I'm not gonna fire, and the fire wouldn't haunt me, but I can't fight the waves. I'm out of my own control.
Woo! Yes.
Cool.
I can hear in my auditory imagination, I can hear the crowd cheering. That was beautiful. The that final lyric,
Yes.
I'm out of my own control. But back up a little. Would you just say those words for us?
Yeah, I saw the fire, and the fire wouldn't haunt me, but I can't fight the waves. I'm out of my own control. Meaning, like I was saying earlier, the being on fire for Jesus, and that was never a problem for me, right? So I'm talking to my boss man, saying, you know, I've been on fire. That was never a problem for me, but right now, I am being, the waves are coming, and I'm being moved, and I cannot fight it, and I'm going to follow it. I'm going to follow it. This isn't in my control. This is the divine voice in me speaking, and I'm going to follow it. Yes.
That is fantastic. You know, you said that song was angry, and what I felt from it was this grounded defiance and a grounded, like a calm confidence is what I felt from it, you know, which,
Thank you.
Which is just beautiful. Matthew says, didn't realize how badly I needed to hear that just now. Thank you, Spencer LaJoye, my favorite song off of Altars.
Oh my God, thank you, Matthew.
And Julie says, this is the most attractive anger I've heard in a while.
Yeah.
And Doug says, I'm sorry, we do finger snaps around here now, Heatherlyn.
Oh, right, so not like the appliance.
He also said earlier, looking forward to a day when all the boxes and all the labels and all the explanations are no longer needed and people are allowed to just be themselves. Doesn't that feel like
Doug.
a breath of fresh air? Like, just, yes.
Thank you, Doug. Absolutely.
Yeah, and Dee says, amazing. How could you do anything other than follow it? And Courtney says, indeed, my anger is much more chaotic than that. It varies for me too. Sometimes the storms feel very chaotic inside, but you know, I believe anger is a map. I believe anger and jealousy too. I believe they show us where to go, what we truly desire, who we truly are. I believe anger is a map, and it can be a friend of ours as long as we know and work at, you know, not hurting anyone. Like usually I give myself a timeout when I'm really, really angry. I withdraw so that I don't hurt anybody.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you know, if you saw me angry, you would be like, who's that? You know what I'm saying?
I understand.
But
I understand.
It can be our friend, right? Teaching us our boundaries and showing us how to protect ourselves and guide our way like a fire, like a blazing fire.
I was talking to my therapist, as I do every week, but last week I was talking to her and I, you know, said I was angry about something, but I was just going to let it pass. I was just going to let it simmer. And she said, well, you know, your feelings are never wrong. First of all, they're just trying to tell you something. And anger is normally trying to tell you that a boundary has been crossed. And if a boundary's been crossed, you might need to address that. Otherwise, it's going to happen again.
Yeah,
and,
that's right.
I said, thank you very much, therapist.
Yeah.
But I didn't ask for that advice today. Yeah. But it's so true. Yeah, they're such roadmaps.
Yeah, that's right. That's a basic emotional intelligence thing, I think, to recognize your emotions are a feedback system. And so the most important thing is to not shame them or shut them down or repress them, but to go, oh boy, to have some courageous compassion and curiosity. What's going on with me right now? What is the story these emotions are telling me? So that was beautiful. You have so much wisdom, and I mean, this is me. Like I feel like I'm getting old because I'm like, you're so young and you have so much wisdom.
I am. No, I am so young. I am so young. I am turning 28 in April. And
awesome. Happy birthday in advance. Congratulations.
Thank you. No, but I was just reflecting on the fact that my best decade could be ahead of me, you know? Mm-hmm. And I think that, like,
absolutely,
in our 20s, at least, like, for me, my early to mid 20s, I just mm-hmm. thought, well, I played the comparison game a lot.
Sure. Yeah, it's easy to do.
It might be 2020, the pandemic, that has helped me to not do that. Mm-hmm. But in comparison to everybody else, I felt like I was just failing. Mm-hmm. And then I went and befriended a bunch of people in their 40s, and they were like, your best is ahead of you. You're going to be fine. You are 27 years old. Totally. Calm down.
Yeah, totally.
And I was, oh my God, you're so right. Like, you're mm-hmm. so right. Yeah.
Yeah, there's much life to be lived, and you are living your life so well. I mean, because I believe that. I mean, from my perspective as a witness, as I'm bearing witness. Yeah, Doug says that 40 years comes out every now and then, huh? Yep, totally. Yep. So, and I'm trying to not be embarrassed about that, right? Like, I've earned this, right? Like, I've been showing up for 40 years now. Like,
yeah. Yeah, you've paid your dues. You can tell me things like I'm doing well. Like, you can say that to me.
Yes, well, thank you. I'm so glad, yeah. Because I do think that knowing yourself, having emotional intelligence, navigating the world with that wisdom, right? The wisdom that is inherent within you. You don't have to get that from all these extrinsic sources. You've got it right here in your eyes. So you listening to the pulse of your soul and dancing to that beat and that rhythm, that is the stuff right there, Spencer LaJoye. Come on.
Mm-hmm. It is the stuff. That's on one of the other songs that I have chosen to sing for you guys today. I think I'm going to sing it at the end because it feels like a sending song, a sending blessing, so I won't sing it yet. But I can tell you about it right now. Sure. I don't think that will ruin anything.
Great.
It's called May Your Discomfort Be a Compass. Mm-hmm. And wow, my therapist is getting so many shout outs this evening.
I mean, my therapist is like, yeah, totally. That's great. And we can normalize this, right? Normalize discussions around mental health, normalize getting therapy. It's good shit.
Yeah. I mean, there are weeks when I go into therapy and I'm like, I'm fine this week. And she's like, tell me what's good then. We don't just have to be like mopey all the time, right? Like, let's learn how to celebrate as well here.
Yeah. That's right.
Which is good. But one of the sessions that we had together a couple years ago, it couldn't have been that long, but some stuff about gender came up. I was still identifying as Jenny and as a woman, and that's so weird to say now. That's so weird to say. But I that's how I was, and some stuff
I am
about
just
gender
so
came
honored
up.
that you're trying it out right here, right now on Storydwelling. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Like, you're doing it.
Well, to say the words like I identified as a woman feels ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I did. And toward the end of our session, she asked me, she said, just out of curiosity, do you ever write any music that's just for you, that's not intended for anyone else to hear? Any music that do you ever write without an audience in mind? And I don't typically. Typically, I have a place in mind. I have specific people in mind. I have, and she said, I just would be curious if you tried that sometime. And I went home, and it was so agonizingly difficult. But I pulled this song out of me, and I've actually never played it outside of my Patreon community before. So this will be the first time that I will publicly play it at the end of this.
Come on, that's awesome.
Because it's such a, and I don't know, I won't play it very often live, but it's the most, it came out of me as a letter to myself. Myself being the audience, and I just told myself, may your discomfort be a compass. You're uncomfortable about something. What is that telling you?
Yep.
And
That's
then a couple
brilliant.
weeks later, I was in the therapy room and I was like, I think I'm non-binary.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
a great story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Music, the songwriting was my guide. But I had to, I don't know, erase. I had to get rid of the other people, the other people who were expecting things of me, right? I
Yeah.
had to get rid of the boxes, or get rid of the
That's
lines,
right.
get rid of
You had to bust out.
the systems.
Courtney's saying anything but the truth after figuring it out does sound ridiculous.
Yes.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, I'm sorry. Who had the question about grieving the name?
Oh, Kitty was
Jenny?
asking that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kitty's a longtime friend and patron, and she's a spiritual leader in her community. And
Awesome.
yeah.
Cool. Yeah. That's a great question. And yeah, in full transparency, I think I'm still thinking about that pretty regularly. My dog might bark for one
Cool.
moment.
Great. Real life.
The neighbor got home.
Oh.
How dare they enter their home?
What's your dog's name?
This is Rory.
Rory. Rory's in the house, y'all. Give it up
Rory's
for
in the
Rory.
house. Well, she's okay. Yeah, I think I'm still thinking about this on a regular basis, thinking about the name Jenny and grieving it. And there are moments where I'll be in a meeting with someone else named Jenny, and somebody will say Jenny, and I'll
Sure. Yeah.
and I'll look, and there is it doesn't necessarily feel like discomfort, but it does feel like a little bit of grief, which I think can be different. They can be wrapped up in each other, but they can be different, grief and discomfort. And
Yeah.
because every time I think Spencer's right.
Yeah.
Spencer's right for me, and
Yeah.
Jenny was right for a time, for a long time. And it's a lot of holding a both and space, being able to say that things that were true for me for a long time have a lot of wonderful memories attached to them, and a lot of wonderful growth attached to them, and
Yeah.
me changing something it does not take away from those memories and from that goodness and that truth.
Yeah.
I'm just expanding.
Oh,
Just
I love
expanding.
it. Yeah. Kind of like the rings of a tree.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
Which is also how I think about gender as a whole,
Cool.
as a tree. You know?
Yeah.
I think when you look at a tree, if you don't see the bark or the size and shape of the tree, the way the branches fall, the leaves, all of the outer, all those expressions, if you don't see those things, you don't really know what kind of tree it is. But if the tree tells you, I'm a birch, then you're like, okay, then I know. Right? But all of those, like gender, gender's the tree, or you're the tree, and the ways that you express your gender, the ways that you, the name attached to your gender, the pronouns attached to your gender, the color that you are in your gender, on the color wheel.
Yeah,
That's
so cool.
the bark, that's the leaves, those are the branches. That's not the tree. You're the tree.
Yeah.
You get to be whatever you want to be,
Yeah. Come on.
Yeah. And so,
Yeah.
and that's something else I think about when I'm thinking about change and naming, I'm like, I'm still the same tree. I didn't uproot. I've still got my roots.
Yeah.
It's all the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're talking about how you have engaged the meta-narrative of cis heteronormativity, how the boxes and containers didn't fit you, how you're writing a new narrative in a lot of ways. And you shared earlier that you have been around the coming out block a few times. And I'm wondering if you'd like to share a little bit more about that experience and those parts of your story with us, what that means for you.
Yeah. When I first realized that I was not straight, I was talking to a friend of mine on the phone, who is from the Assemblies of God tradition.
I'm familiar.
Yes. And she's still very wrapped up in that. I haven't touched base with her in a while, but I was talking to her on the phone, and I said, you know what, I don't understand all of the hatred for LGBTQ people.
Yeah.
It makes me so sad.
Yeah.
And I just started sobbing, just crying so hard out of what I thought was just deep, deep empathy. And I just kept crying. And I couldn't shake this empathy. And eventually I thought, oh, wait, no. No. Oh, I'm crying for myself.
Yeah.
I'm not crying for other people.
Wow.
Wait a minute. And then pieces in retrospect fall together. But the first time I came out, I came out to my friend Shane in a church parking lot after we were worship leaders at this church in Grand Rapids, and it was raining outside. And we were loading our music equipment back into his car.
Yeah.
And I remember just being like, if I'm going to do that, I just have to do it now. Shane's my best friend, and I told him, and he just hugged me.
Nice.
And that was that.
Nice.
In a church parking lot. And
that went well.
And it went well. Yeah. And then I lived in a house full of 8 Christian women going to a conservative Christian college, my senior year of college. And I sat them all down in the living room one day, and I said, yo, listen, I'm bisexual, and I don't think it's wrong to be that, and that will be in my life. That's who I am.
Good.
And my best friend, Lindsay, not knowing how to handle the situation, started clapping for me, started applauding.
Good.
It's just beautiful. Just like the most awkward, lovely response. But that went well. And then I came out to my parents on March 1st, 2015. And I came out to them, and they said, well, we think we kind of knew. And my little sister cried because she was PMSing. And she said that. She said, I'm sorry, I'm crying. It's not about this.
I'm not sad about your sexuality.
Yeah. And, it was, these are just like, these snapshots are so fond to me.
Yeah.
But those... And I came home that night from coming out to my parents, and my whole house of Christian college women had baked me a peanut butter pie in support.
Nice.
And
good.
So
conservatives aren't that bad, apparently.
No. So when I say that I've been around the coming out block a few times, and it looks different every single time. And of course I left out some harder details there. I mean, there were some moments with family that was more difficult and more private and quieter, and didn't look like applause in the living room. Didn't look like jokes about menstruation. Didn't look like, it was tough. But it's all woven together. There are also good moments,
I'm so glad
those
for
really,
you.
really beautiful moments.
Yeah. You shared with me one time an incredible example of a response to someone who wasn't initially being respectful to your name change. And I really admire how you approached them, and really with kindness, but also clarity. You were basically like, you don't have to understand someone to respect them. So thank you for stepping up to what I know you're capable of. But I'd love for you to, if you want to say anything about that. That was just fucking brilliant. Like, so amazing,
well,
Spence.
Thank you for saying that. And yeah, I mean, that's the thing about announcing anything. It doesn't have to be a queer coming out. It can be any kind of change. There are always going to be people who have a little bit of a problem, because change is scary, and because change makes people afraid of losing all the good that came before the change. But you can't lose that. It's never going anywhere. Anyway, yeah, this individual is a good family friend, and she commented on something, and she did everything wrong, I will say. When somebody tells you what their new name is and what their pronouns are, especially a trans person, a non-binary person, the absolute wrong thing to do is to say, I don't understand, and thus I will not respect it, and to, in the same sentence, misgender them and use their wrong name. Which is what she did. To which it was on a post that my wife had made, and she immediately was like, Spence, so-and-so is here, and do you want to take care of it, or I will? And so that's something else that I learned, is before coming out, really good to have people in your corner, at the ready for you.
Yeah.
And Whitney's been wonderful in that regard. And so she said, do you want to jump on it? And I immediately jumped on, and I said, so-and-so, you do not have to understand somebody in order to respect them. My family will be using my name and my new pronouns. I'm confident that you can do the same. And
I believe in you.
I do. And I do believe in people.
Yeah.
You know, when people, it comes out of a place of not believing in their own ability to change. You know, and that strikes me. I work in a lot of spaces with people who are 60 years and older. And I've noticed that a lot of them, they do respect my pronouns and my new name without asking any questions. But if they do mess up, they will often say, I'm sorry, I'm old, I'll get it. And I'm thinking, you don't have to discount your own ability to change and evolve.
Nice.
You're capable of this, you know?
Yeah.
And
Nice.
you know, we're capable of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, this person, and then I told everybody, no need to pile on. You don't know her, I do. It's okay.
Cool. Good for you. That's nice.
Ugh.
Well, that's kindness right there. I think you yeah, I would love for us to hear another song from you. I want you to hear a few things that people are saying, because y'all who are watching, you're so lovely. Thanks for being here. Dee says, I changed my name for completely different reasons than being trans. I noticed today how much I enjoy when people call me that, and I call myself that now, and I love it.
Oh, cool.
Awesome. Brian says, that's beautiful. I have so much admiration for the way you are answering the call to authenticity, Spencer.
Thank you.
Toby says, will you scroll down just a little bit, Jay? Thank you. When I came out as non-binary and changed my name, I came across a business sign that read, new name, same owner, and that always resonated with me.
Yeah,
new name,
awesome.
Same owner. And then Jay Lieber.
Hey, Jay.
Yeah, apologies if I didn't pronounce your last name correctly. But Jay says, your college friend, your parents, and your sister and your friends all are cool. I'm happy for you. So Come on. We're celebrating Spencer LaJoye tonight. We're celebrating stories and paying attention to the stories that shape our lives. This is Storydwelling, the practice of cultivating courageous, compassionate curiosity for ourselves and one another, recognizing the shaping nature of narrative. So we're so grateful that you're here. I'm so grateful to Spencer for being my guest tonight, for sharing generously of their lived experiences and the wisdom they have gleaned in the process. And now we get to hear another song from Spence.
Thanks. This is, I know the last song sounded resilient and defiant more than angry. This one is really just unruly and angry. And it's called How Could You? And I don't play it live hardly ever anymore because I think I've evolved past the place of this particular kind of anger. But I think songs are companions to us in our journeys, and they are lovely little snapshots, into our emotional narratives. And so this song is addressed to a white, cishet, abusive, patriarchal god that I greatly revered at one point. So this is to that guy. Oh, Heather Lynn, what's the rule on language here?
I have actually used some, choice words, so feel free. You're good.
Okay,
and
cool.
I really dig the theme of this song. I was muted, so you couldn't hear me go,
Okay, great.
So this is fantastic. You have at it.
Awesome, great, cool. Here we go.
Yeah.
For sure, if we met up for drinks, I'd feel everything. I'd consume the sight of you, the past in a glass. But I know for sure that I don't recognize your face anymore. Were you always keeping face? My stupid faith in your transcendent grace, like sovereignty could ever be human. How could you make me believe that in order for me to be free, I need more of you and less of me? Where's your humanity? You called me up just to remind me that you die, so I could live, and to nail me to a tree of ignorance. Ooh, so angry. You fucked me up, put on that mask again so I might understand how you ever made me think I owe you everything. Is it really love if I can't feel it when I'm in it? Is it really love if I can't feel it when I'm in it? Is it really love? How could you make me believe that in order for me to be free, I need more of you and less of me? How could is it really love if I can feel it when I'm in it? If I can feel it when I'm in it, where's your humanity?
Julie
you.
says, "Oh my God, this song is profound," and I agree. Especially for some of us who you really captured some of those phrases that that are prevalent in that space that I certainly was formed in. And those things are harmful, and I really appreciate the way that you captured those and turned those around and inside out. Wow, thank you. Thank you. Oh my God, I'm just near crying.
Thanks.
One thing that I think quite a bit about is personal sovereignty, that you yourself are sovereign over your body, right? And you are sovereign over your identity and how you define yourself. And it is an act of love, and I would even say righteousness, to believe you when you tell us that, right? Wow. And the whole thing of how, for you to be more free, that I need more of you and less of me. Just brilliant, Spence. Brilliant.
Thank you.
Yeah. Wow.
Thank you.
I'm grateful to you for teaching us tonight, for educating. I know that it can take emotional labor to teach your friends about who you are when it is outside of the social norms and constructs, and that's why so many of us need to be working to decenter ourselves. But
you've created, I will say that,
and include.
Yes, you've created the space for it to happen, though.
Thank you.
And that makes it less exhausting.
Oh, I'm so glad. Yeah. We are celebrating you here for sure, and celebrating the expansion of narrative, which makes us all more human. Like you mentioned earlier, that those boxes don't fit anybody really. Nobody really fits them. And we all become more human when we can get beyond the scripts we've been prescribed, right? To be our true selves. I'm wondering if any of you would like to ask Spencer a respectful question. I think most of you here are going to do that. I believe in you like Spencer does, right? So thank you for your compassionate and courageous curiosity. If you'd like to ask some questions about any of the things that we've been talking about tonight, ask Spencer your questions. Feel free to do that in the comments. This, as we kind of like come towards the culmination of our time together, this is a time where we can invite people with a call to action. We can invite people, we can encourage you. I would encourage you, for one, if you didn't fully kind of understand some of the terms that we used tonight, to go ahead and look those up, jot them down, open another browser right now, open your dictionary. And so, Spencer, I'd invite you, if you have anything that you would like to invite people into, or certainly just anything you want to say.
Yeah. My, Patreon is a huge, it is a financial blessing to me, and I don't throw that word around.
Yeah, right.
But even more than a financial blessing, it is a relational one. When people sign up for like $5, or even like $1 a month, every single time, I think, I feel chosen. I feel chosen every single time.
Yes.
And every single time that I write a post for my Patreon community, more so than for my wider Facebook community or my Instagram community or my Twitter community, when it's for my patrons, I feel like I am choosing them because they have chosen me. And it's
Yes.
So Patreon, I would welcome you and encourage you to join that relational place.
That's right.
Yeah. That's
Yes.
it. That's mostly for me. Patreon.com/Spencer
Awesome.
LaJoye.
Yes. And I happen to believe that Patreon is a resistance to predominant narratives of celebrity culture, of capitalism and consumerism, where you can invest in a human. And there are artistry and story. Okay, so there are a couple questions. Julie is asking, Spencer, is there one thing you wish your brain didn't do to you or say to you while writing lyrics? If so, is there a trick you have to overcome that?
Oh gosh, there's so much, and so I'll keep it brief. Hello Montgomery, my kitten son. I wish that my brain didn't tell me that nobody will get that. That's not relatable. That's too specific to me. That won't make sense to anybody else. Because the truth is that the more specific it is, the more relatable it is. But my brain likes to try to tell me to be less of myself. And more like everybody else.
And isn't that interesting? That is interesting. I relate to that. And I also think it's interesting that my therapist also asks me about writing songs just for myself and not for other people. Like all the time,
kidding.
Actually. Yeah. And incidentally, they are non-binary as well. My therapist is. Yeah. So they're fantastic. Jay is asking, do you find yourself smiling more now? You seem so happy.
I think I smile more. I smile all the time. I think joy comes really naturally to me. I smile more in recent years than I did for a chunk of years in there, because I was convinced that I needed to be cynical. But that's not helpful to me either. Cynicism is not helpful. The cynicism that wrote that last song, good for the song, not sustainable for me in the long run.
Sure, yeah.
So I've discarded it.
Yeah, good for you. Yeah, sometimes it's great to encapsulate those things in a song. And then, yeah. So, Dee has a question. I don't know how to say Nunya. Tell me if it is Nunya. So maybe that means if you don't want to answer this, then you don't have to, which is the right thing. Are you considering HRT? And if so, would you be concerned about the voice changes that would come with that? Just curious.
That's a question lots of people have asked me, actually. And no, I am not. I am not.
Yeah.
Considering that. And I will say, full permission to myself to change my mind, always.
Absolutely.
But as of right now, no.
Yeah. Oh, Dee says, Nanya, tell me if it's Nanya, like Nanya business.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think one of the greatest things that you've taught me tonight is thinking of gender as a color wheel. I love that imagery so much.
Oh, good.
That is, and I've known for a while that Spectrum doesn't quite do it. Like Spectrum doesn't, but you've offered something that's incredibly helpful. So I appreciate that a lot.
Good.
Yeah, because I know that there's so many false binaries in our world, right? Like there's not just two options.
Well, and I will say that another binary is binary or non-binary, right? So like, if you're a non-binary person, you're androgynous. No.
Right.
That's not true.
Yeah, cool.
Non-binary people don't owe anybody androgyny. I tend toward that a little bit more, but that's not because I owe it to anybody. That's just because that's who I am.
Yeah. I appreciate you saying that so much. And one of the ways that I relate to that is I know that energetically I do, and I'm going to speak in binary terms here, but I know that masculine and feminine, I'm really tuned into having both masculine and feminine energy. And whatever that means, and the full spectrum of that. So like I actually resonate with the color wheel a lot. And at the same time, I also somehow really enjoy being a woman and femme expression and, and style. So, the color wheel, man, that's good shit. All right. Any more questions for Spence? And I'm also envisioning the little rainbow wheel, the rainbow spinny wheel.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Dee says my kid is non-binary and prefers dresses. They hated having to wear dresses as a child. So there you go. Yeah.
There you
go. Anything else from your story, from your life? You have a big thing. You have kind of a big thing coming up in your life that I'm both celebrating with you and I'm a little bit devastated as well. And at the same time, I know that we'll continue our friendship and collaborations in beautiful, wonderful ways that we never imagined since.
Yes. How do I get this in the screen? Whitney and I are moving to Boston, which doesn't affect this virtual space very much. But my wife got a internship in Boston, and that's where we're headed.
Yeah.
And I look forward to when plane rides are a very safe thing again, and when they can make the world smaller, and I can just come back.
Yeah.
But that is another thing. That is another thing where it's both and. It's a celebration and a grief.
Yep.
Yeah, but similarly, likewise, Heatherlyn, I was looking forward to hanging out in person before.
Yeah, right. Me
before
too.
any changes happened, but
yeah, and harmonizing in person and
I know
songwriting in person, but we'll still do virtual things and we will. So I'm from New England. Some people here know that. So Boston is one of my favorite cities, and I will be returning to Maine to visit my mom. And Boston is a great place to stop on the way. I don't know. Yeah. Like people don't know, like if you're not from New England or you never visit it, you wouldn't know that it takes like a day. Like it's so many legs of travel to get up to Maine. So actually having Boston like on my way back, so I'm not rushing. So I'm not, rushing through a 2-hour drive or more to get to the airport. It'd be brilliant to hang with you and Whitney for a while, and Rory.
Stop on by. Stop on by.
Yeah. So I think before your last song, I would love to invite people to come back to upcoming shows. I would love for you to join me this Saturday afternoon for American Time Zones. So it's a matinee for American Time Zones where I'm just singing a bunch of songs, including a few Irish traditional songs. So I would love for you to come to the matinee. It is... Oh, shoot. Now I forgot what time it is. So you'll have to find the event on Facebook. There's an event page for this virtual matinee this Saturday. I think it is 1:00 Pacific. That would make sense to me. 2:00 Mountain and so on from there. So 4 p.m. Eastern. All right. So that's Saturday. It's just me hanging out with you all, singing a bunch of songs, including a couple Irish traditionals for St. Patrick's Day coming up. So some covers you've maybe not heard me do before, blah, 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 blah. Also will be a little bit of a Patreon-a-thon to just share with you what that's about, what I'm hoping for with that, inviting you into that. Next week, we have another Storydwelling edition with my friend Bruce Reyes-Chow. And, oh man, he's so cool, y'all. And he wrote this book, a whole book on kindness. And it is being released on Tuesday. The release date is this coming Tuesday. So we're doing another matinee to celebrate the release of this book. So, and also the matinees allow our UK friends to join in, because matinee here means evening show for our UK friends. So we're going to talk about kindness. We're going to hear Bruce Reyes-Chow's story. We might also talk a little bit about what is happening in our country right now with racialized just discrimination happening against Asian Americans, and how that is interfacing with supporting our Black beloved kin. So anyway, Bruce is amazing. He embodies kindness. I can't believe he wrote a whole book about it. He actually, he's like spliced it up. Like, here's kindness, how you can show kindness in your meetings. Here's how you can show kindness in the public sphere. Here's how you can show kindness in your family. It's brilliant and it's funny. And so it's a great book. I'm excited to be in conversation with him about it and celebrate the release of it. So please join us this coming Saturday. Please join us next Tuesday afternoon as well. They're going to be great times together. So thank you all for being here. Thanks to my patrons as well for your support, for making these productions possible, all of the organizing, networking, researching, creating, practicing, all of those things. Thank you for being part of my life, my journey, and my work. It matters so, so much. So, Spence, is there anything that you would like to invite folks to coming up? I know it's hard these days, since it's all like virtual and stuff.
It is difficult. So no, not really. Just follow me on all the things, because I've got a really exciting EP coming up this year that I would love for you to get your ears on. So yeah, follow me for that.
Awesome. Okay, so you can see online tip jars for Spencer, Patreon for Spencer. And I know we have socials for Spencer as well. So it's basically Spencer LaJoye across the board, right?
Across the board.
Spencer LaJoye music.
Google that. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So please do connect with, follow, join Spencer's Patreon and life and all the good stuff.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And if there are people of who are coming here from my platforms who don't typically tune into Heather Lynn's stuff,
thanks
you
for
best
being here.
like and follow Heather Lynn's stuff as well, and check out her Patreon and all of that, because she's just magic. So please, yes.
Shucks, thanks, Spence. It seems like you're ready to do our final song. So I think I would love for you to tell us about that, do the song, and then maybe we'll just come back up once more to say goodbye and peace out and all that. How's that sound?
I love it.
Okay.
I love it. Beautiful.
Thank you all for being here, for Storydwelling, for listening, engaging, and thank you, Spence.
Thank you. This is that one song called May Your Discomfort Be a Compass, and I've never performed this in a public place before. So you are special, and this is your little blessing. Okay, great. Listen to me. You can be anything. May your discomfort be a compass. May your discomfort be a compass, leading you out from behind that shield that reminds you you're just a joker in everyone else's story. Listen to me. Lay down your strategies. May your discomfort be a compass. May your discomfort be a compass, leading you into the role that's more than a foil to everyone doesn't have something missing. Listen to me. You're not a mystery. May your discomfort be a compass. May your discomfort be a compass, leading you into your own kind of magic that nobody ever told you was always there for the finding. Listen to me. You can be anything. May your discomfort be a compass. May your discomfort be a compass, leading you out of revision. I give you permission. I give you permission. I give you permission to write it yourself without omission.
Thank you. Thank you for that permission, Spence, and for living your life in a way that also gives others permission to let their light shine outside of the boxes and color outside of the lines. Appreciate you so much. Brian says, love this song, so beautiful. Yeah. So, and Kitty also said, another great bunch of songs, Spencer. I really loved your last show with Heather Lynn. Blessings upon you and Whitney for your new adventures in life in Boston. So I think we all echo that. Wishing you the very best. And thank you so much for sharing with us tonight and growing our minds and our hearts. Thank you all for watching. Hope to see you next time. We're sending you our love and wishing you wellness and well-being in all and through all and through you to the world. So take care. Much love.